Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. I'm getting a lot of requests to provide some HDR and SDR settings for the S95C for the game Starfield on the PC or Xbox. And yeah, that's why we're here today. I have of course some recommendation, but what I have to say in terms of the HDR black level raise or also the SDR black level raise or this very ugly filter, these Samsung TVs are not the best to actually provide a solution compared to the LG OLED TVs, because the LG OLED TVs having the FTDA settings, the fine-tuned dark area settings, which are really good, because they're just actually taking care about the lower end from the gamma curve, and this is exactly what you need when you have HDR black level raise or SDR black level raise for the, I think, very first time in a game ever. But the thing is, these Samsung TVs, they don't provide something like the FTDA settings. That's why it is a little bit more complicated actually, or it's actually not complicated. There is just not the right solution for a Samsung TV. Even the game does not support the HDR system level calibration on the Xbox Series X and S in the correct way. And what I mean with that is that if you actually set your HDR system level calibration up to 10,000 nits, it will still just output 1,000 nits in the game. But what I found is, if you go below, or let's say you set it to the absolute minimum, the game will stop outputting at around 500 nits. So make sure this menu is set up in the correct way. And again, I'm just hoping for an update where this menu is actually supported in the correct way. If you like to play Starfield in HDR on a S95B or S95C, there's exactly one setting in the picture menu where we can alter or actually decrease the HDR black level raise. And this setting is called Shadow Details, and you can find this in the picture menu on your TV. And the only thing what you can do is change it from the standard factory setting, which is 0 to -5. And what you can see right now in my side-by-side comparison is that there is not much of a difference between 0 and -5. I mean, there is a difference, but not as much as we can see actually when we use the FTDA settings on the LG OLED TVs, because the FTDA setting is really taking care about the lower end from the gamma or the EOTF curve in HDR, and it's just a perfect tool to get rid of HDR black level raise. But unfortunately on the Samsung TVs we don't have such a tool, and the shadow detail option -5 is not enough in my opinion to make the picture very similar to an LG OLED TV. But unfortunately, the only option what we have on Samsung TVs is the shadow detail setting, and -5 is my recommendation if you like to play this game in HDR. And in my last video I saw a couple of comments where people recommending to use the HDMI black level setting on the Samsung TV and set it to low to get rid of the washed out picture. But there's a catch. This just works with an SDR signal which is delivered from the Xbox to the Samsung TV, because as soon the Xbox is outputting HDR, the Xbox is sending a YCPCR signal, which is always low. That means if you now set your Samsung TV to low, you literally change nothing. So let's just quickly talk about the tone mapping option, active and static, what we have on the Samsung S95C and S95B. Between active and static there is not much of a difference, as I found, so feel free to use whatever you like more. So let's have a quick look on my recommended HDR settings for the S95C. We have brightness set to 50, contrast 50, sharpness 0, color 18. Why color 18? Let's have a quick look why. And yeah, thank you very much to Classy, because he recommended actually to use color 18 and the color space setting to native. This is, according to him, a very good compromise to use the BT2020 color space on the TV. Then we have contrast enhancer off, HDR tone mapping, static or active. This is up to you, what you like more. There's just a little bit of a difference, as you can see, not much. I prefer actually static, but you can use whatever you want. We have color tone warm 2, which is close to D65, and then ST2084 -1, and shadow details in this game -5. And last but not least, of course, peak brightness set to high. And now I would say let's move on to SDR. And with SDR, we have a lot more options actually what we can use on the Samsung TV. And in order to use SDR on the Xbox Series and not outputting any HDR signal, make sure you untick HDR10 and of course Dolby Vision for gaming in the setup menu from your Xbox. And when we play an SDR on the Xbox and the Samsung TV, we have suddenly much more options. We have actually the option HDMI black level now, what we can use, because now the Xbox is actually outputting an RGB signal. So what we need to do to use actually the trick with high and low, or in case of the Samsung normal and low, you must set up the Xbox to PC RGB. And then what you have to do, you have to change the Samsung S95C HDMI black level setting to low. And what you can see is a big difference. And my recommendation is actually not to use it. Because what I found is that the difference between low and normal is way too much to actually address the issue with the washed out picture, because we're now crushing a lot of details in darker areas, and it is just way too much in my opinion. So I would say forget about the HDMI black level trick and set everything back to auto, and we're focusing on the shadow detail setting and one additional setting. As in HDR, we also have the option in SDR to change the shadow detail setting from 0 to -5, which already helps a little bit to get rid of the washed out picture look. But then on top we have the BT1886 option, which you can also set to -3 or to a value what you like to get, to make the picture even a little bit darker. And what you can see here in my samples or side-by-side comparisons, that even using the BT1886 -3 and shadow details -5, we still have more details compared to the HDMI black level trick. And here we are with my recommended SDR settings in the game mode for the S95C. We have brightness 35, contrast 38, sharpness 0, color 22 times 0, contrast enhancer off, and then we have color tone warm 2, and then gamma BT1886. And for this game I would recommend BT1886 to around -2, -3, and the shadow details to -5. Also make sure color space is set to auto and peak brightness set to high. Okay, let me just summarize what we have done in this video. So first of all, if you like to play in HDR, there's really just one option on the Samsung TV, and that's the shadow detail option, and I would strongly recommend to set this to -5. And if you like to play the game in SDR, then we have a couple of more options, including the HDMI black level trick, which I would not recommend because you're just crushing a lot of details in your shadows. Full stop. That's how it is. I don't like it. I would not recommend it. What I would recommend is change the shadow details to -5 and also change the BT1886 setting to, let's say, -2, -3. Okay, my friends, so that's it for this very quick video, and I hope I can help you a little bit. But again, there's not much what we can do on a Samsung S95C, and unfortunately, I would like to have something like the FTDA settings from the LG OLED TVs also on the Samsung TVs, because in terms of the FTDA settings, LG OLED TVs are just way ahead compared to these Samsung TVs. And this is exactly, this setting on the LG OLED TVs is exactly what we would need to make the picture also much better on the Samsung TVs. But on the other hand, we need to be fair here. This is not an issue actually with the TVs. This is actually, it's actually not an issue at all, because it's creators' intent, if you like it or not. I don't like it. Put in the comment section what you think. Put in the comment section if you maybe have different settings, and we can share it with everyone. And yeah, thank you very much for watching me. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.